I am 97 years old, and before I leave this world, I need to confess something that has been eating me alive for decades. I watched my children suffer, and I did nothing. I stood there, silent, while the world broke their spirits piece by piece. And the worst part, I told myself I was protecting them. I convinced myself that silence was survival. I was wrong, dead wrong. And now, at the end of my life, I finally understand the price my children paid for my cowardice. You see, I was born in 1927. I grew up in a time when speaking up could get you killed, not arrested, not fined, killed, lynched, disappeared. I learned early that a black man who kept his head down, who swallowed his pride, who bit his tongue, that man had a chance to see tomorrow. So that is what I did. For 70 years, that is exactly what I did. I survived. But survival is not the same as living, and I taught my children to survive when I should have been teaching them to live. My son was 8 years old when it started, 3rd grade. He came home from school one day, and I could see it in his eyes. Something had changed. He would not look at me, just went straight to his room. My wife finally got it out of him. A teacher, a white teacher, had made him stand in front of the class, made him the example of what happens when you do not try hard enough, called him lazy, called him slow, used words that made it clear she was not just talking about his homework. My boy had gotten a B on his test, a B, but she wanted to make a point, and my son, my brilliant, sensitive boy, had to stand there while she did it. When my wife told me, I felt something rise up in my chest. Anger, pure hot anger. I should have gone to that school the next morning, should have walked into that principal's office and demanded that teacher apologize, should have made noise, made them see my son as a human being deserving of respect. You know what I did instead? I told my son to work harder, told him to keep his head down, told him not to make trouble, told him that this is just how the world is, and the sooner he learned to deal with it, the better off he would be. I can still see the look on his face when I said that, like something inside him just dimmed, like a light going out. And I told myself I was teaching him wisdom, teaching him survival. But what I was really teaching him was that he did not matter, that his pain did not matter, that he should accept injustice and smile while swallowing it. My daughter was 12 when the department store security guard followed her through every aisle. She was shopping for a birthday present for her mother, had her own money, money she had earned babysitting, but that did not matter. She was black, so she was a thief. She came home in tears, not because the guard followed her. She was used to that by then. She cried because I was there. I was standing right outside the store waiting for her. I saw the guard following my baby girl, saw him watching her like she was a criminal, and I did nothing. When she came out, crying, asking me why I did not say something, I told her the same thing I told my son. Keep your head down. Do not make trouble. This is just how it is. I watched my daughter's trust in me die that day, saw it in her eyes. She realized that her own father would not protect her, would not defend her, would not even speak up for her. And why? Because I was afraid of confrontation, afraid of being seen as an angry black man, afraid of making things worse. But how could things be worse than teaching your child that they have to accept humiliation in silence? My son joined the military. thought if he served his country, he would finally be respected. He came back from Vietnam with medals and nightmares, came back to a country that still saw him as less than, still followed him in stores, still crossed the street when he walked by, still assumed the worst. He tried to get a job using his skills, electronics. He was brilliant with anything technical, but every interview ended the same way. They would see him walk in, and you could watch their faces change. Suddenly, the position was filled. Suddenly, they were looking for someone with different experience. Suddenly, there was some reason why my decorated veteran son was not good enough. He started drinking, not a lot at first, just enough to dull the edges, just enough to make it through another day of rejection. And I watched it happen, watched my son, my strong, capable son, slowly dissolve into someone I barely recognized. And you know what I told him? Get another job, any job. Stop being picky. Stop expecting the world to be fair. The same poison I had been feeding him his whole life. My daughter became a teacher, thought she could make a difference, thought she could be the teacher she never had. And for a while she was. She was brilliant. Her students loved her. She poured everything into that job, but she was the only black teacher in that school, and every parent conference, every faculty meeting, every decision, she had to work twice as hard to be taken half as seriously. She would come to Sunday dinner exhausted, not from teaching, from fighting, fighting to be heard, fighting to be respected, fighting to prove she belonged in a room where everyone else's presence was never questioned. I would tell her to pick her battles, not to be so sensitive, to just do her job and go home. The same silence I had perfected, the same survival strategy that was killing us both. Then, 5 years ago, something happened that changed everything. My son had a heart attack, 62 years old, sitting in his apartment alone, and his heart just gave out. He survived, barely. And when I sat next to his hospital bed, looking at my son, my firstborn child, hooked up to machines, I finally saw it, really saw it, the weight he had been carrying his entire life, the weight I had put on him when I taught him that his pain did not matter, that speaking up was dangerous, that silence was safety. He looked at me from that hospital bed, and he said something I will never forget. He said, "Dad, I am so tired. Not tired from the heart attack, tired from a lifetime of swallowing rage, tired from pretending things did not hurt when they hurt like hell, tired from living in a world that saw him as a threat and having a father who told him to just accept it." That is when I finally understood. My silence had not protected my children. It had abandoned them. Every time I told them to keep their heads down, I was telling them they were not worth fighting for. Every time I told them not to make trouble, I was telling them to accept a world that saw them as less than human. I thought I was teaching them survival, but I was teaching them to survive without living, to exist without thriving, to breathe without ever really being alive. My daughter stopped speaking to me for 2 full years after my son's heart attack. She said she needed time to process everything, time to understand why her father, who was supposed to protect her, had spent her childhood teaching her to protect everyone else's comfort instead. When she finally called me, she said something that broke me. She said, "Dad, I have a grandson now. Your great-grandson. He is 7 years old, and when he comes home from school upset, when someone treats him differently because of his skin, I do not tell him to keep his head down. I tell him he matters. I tell him his feelings are valid. I tell him that the world is wrong, not him. I teach him to speak up. And I realize that you never taught me that. You taught me the opposite. And I had to unlearn everything you taught me to become the grandmother I needed to be. I am 97 years old. I do not have much time left. And I am making this video because I need you to understand something. If you are a parent, your silence teaches your children what they are worth. If you say nothing when the world diminishes them, you are agreeing with the world. If you tell them to accept injustice, you are teaching them that they deserve it. I failed my children. I let them grow up thinking that their pain was acceptable, that their anger was dangerous, that their voices did not matter. And now I am watching them heal from wounds I helped create. My son goes to therapy now, learning to speak after a lifetime of silence. My daughter is teaching her son to stand tall in a world that wants him small. And me? I am learning that you can be 97 years old and still have regrets that suffocate you, still have conversations you wish you had, still have moments you would give anything to do over. If I could go back, I would walk into that school and demand they see my son. I would confront that security guard and make him ashamed. I would tell my daughter that she was brilliant and the world was broken, not the other way around. I would teach my children that their voices mattered, that they mattered. I would fight for them the way I should have fought from the beginning. But I cannot go back. All I can do is tell you this. Do not teach your children to survive by making themselves smaller. Teach them to take up space. Teach them their anger at injustice is righteous. Teach them that silence in the face of wrong is agreement. Teach them they are worth fighting for. Your children are watching you. They are learning from you. And if you stay silent when the world hurts them, that silence will echo through their entire lives. I know. I watched it happen. If this made you think, if you have seen this or lived this, leave a comment. Share your story. And if you are a parent, make a choice right now about what you will teach your children. Because time runs out faster than you think, and the lessons you teach them will outlive you both. Subscribe if you want to hear more truth before I am gone. The clock is ticking for all of us. What will you teach your children about their worth?